Michael Shellenberger, thank you so much for your time. The Australian government is introducing an Orwellian misinformation bill where individuals could be fined thousands of dollars if they don't take down what bureaucrats determine is misinformation. How dangerous do you think this would be for democracy?
Well, thanks for asking. I mean, I think it's a huge threat to democracy, not just in Australia, but potentially around the world. The authors of the legislation have made clear that they think it should apply both internally and externally. We saw the e-safety commissioner earlier this year attempt to ban a video from X, formerly Twitter, not just in Australia, but around the world. If you don't have free speech, you don't have democracy. Democracy depends on people being able to speak their mind. And so what's happening in Australia is really one of the worst censorship efforts that we've seen anywhere over the last several years.
In the policy documentation, the Albanese government accuses Donald Trump, the president-elect, of being a source of misinformation, claiming he told people to ingest bleach, which he never did. But in doing so, this is disinformation itself, isn't it? And doesn't this pose two problems? First, it's false accusations against the incoming president, but also it shows how the truth can be so easily distorted and labelled misinformation.
Well, that's exactly right. The case you're referring to, of course, is the Minister of Communications had falsely suggested that Trump suggested that people should drink bleach or inject bleach. That's been widely debunked, and yet they're citing that as a reason why they need these new censorship powers. I think it points to something very important here, which is that almost always the demands for censorship are of accurate information, and almost always they involve spreading misinformation. So you see a very funny sort of projection by the people that want censorship, accusing other people of misinformation while they themselves are spreading misinformation. The reason that that happens is because the people that want censorship are really blind to their own foibles. They are very arrogant. They don't have very much self-awareness. And so, in fact, the researchers have studied this. It's a form of narcissism known as the first person effect, where people can't perceive that they themselves are guilty of the thing they're accusing others. So it's really, this is the basis of totalitarianism, that you're going to be ruled over by people that are really imagine themselves to be pure and perfect and always right, and seeking to censor people that they disagree with, often on the basis of false information.
The United States is moving towards a total free speech model, particularly since Elon Musk bought X. And yet the Albanese government, with its censorship bill, is moving in precisely the opposite Orwellian direction. What are the risks here with the Labor government's approach?
Well, it's pretty shocking that the Albanese government is proposing this sweeping censorship bill. They've made no secret of the fact that they want to censor Trump, that they want to censor Elon Musk. That strikes me as a very unwise and counterproductive act of aggression against the incoming Trump administration. You know, we Americans have always valued our relationship with Australia. We look, very kindly on all of our English-speaking allies around the world. This is just a very strange act of hostility by the Albanese government against Donald Trump and one of his main supporters, who also happens to run the largest free speech platform in the world. You know, the funny thing is, people say that Elon Musk has a strong free speech standard. You know, Musk actually censors a significant amount of content that is legally allowed under our Constitution, mostly under pressure from various groups that want to see a lot of censorship. So, but what's being proposed in Australia is downright totalitarian. I mean, you're having the government demand that Musk censor things that are true, that are inconvenient to the Albanese government. But I just can't understand. I don't think the people of Australia really understand just how big of a fight the Australian government is picking with the incoming Trump administration. I can't see that as being in the interests of the people of Australia.
Michael, this has barely been reported at all, but actually religious leaders across many different faiths are condemning this bill because it would give bureaucrats the ability to determine whether the content of a religious belief is misinformation or not. This is highly concerning because people should be able to believe whatever they like according to their religion. I mean, how can you have bureaucrats determining whether religious beliefs are misinformation? It's just absurd.
Well, it's terrifying. I mean, this is something that we've had protections of religious freedom for hundreds of years in the West, starting in Europe in the, as early as the 16th, 17th centuries. What you're really seeing here is a mentality of the Inquisition. One of the characteristics of totalitarianism is the penetration by politics of all realms of life. And so I think the Albanese government is treating its particular brand of woke politics as a religion. And so they're out on a hunt for heretics. This is a very familiar pattern of all totalitarian systems, whether it's the Inquisition or fascism or communism. The fact that this is dressing itself up as protecting people is actually precisely what Orwell worried about when he wrote 1984. So it's scary to look at. It's like a Black Mirror episode to see Australia demanding censorship in the name of free speech and defending censorship in the name of protecting people. In fact, they're making very clear that they intend to use it as a tool to persecute people who have other religions than the official state religion.
Yeah, it's just so dangerous, and you articulate the risks very, very well. Michael, Donald Trump has committed to transparency around information on a range of topics that are currently top secret or highly classified. You've done a lot of reporting in this space. What do you think needs to be released under Trump's administration?
Well, there's so much secrecy that has piled up over the years. Exactly 50 years from when Trump takes office, the Senate of the United States held very big investigation. It was called the Church Committee hearings. We need that again. It's 50 years of secrets have accumulated. Boy, there's so many different things that the government is hiding that need to come out. I would say at the top of the list is the origin of COVID. We need to know, what the US government knows that it hasn't made public yet. Americans still don't have all the files around the investigation into the assassination of President John F. Kennedy over 60 years ago. There's been a big debate in the United States over what used to be called UFOs that are now called unidentified anomalous phenomena. I, like many others, do not claim to know what they are, but the military has taken them seriously, but it continues to refuse to release what we know are many films and videos about UAPs. Something actually that's been an issue as well in Australia, where if you don't care what if you think they're weather balloons or Chinese spy satellites or birds or some sort of optical illusion, these are things that, like all these things, are best out in the open where we can have an open discussion, a scientific-based discussion. So I think the key here is transparency. Donald Trump has promised to release all that information, plus certainly the information around the corruption and the weaponization of federal agencies to target him and falsely claim that he was compromised by the Russian government. That was disproved, but we still haven't gotten to the bottom of the weaponization, including the weaponization of the FBI and CIA, not just in 2016, but again in 2020, as it related to running a disinformation operation. This is now proven. This is not a theory. Disinformation operation around the Hunter Biden laptop, the laptop that showed that the Biden family was involved in a vast influence peddling scheme involving the Ukrainians, the Chinese, and many other governments. So really, it's time to come clean. I think that the goal should be truth and reconciliation, not revenge, but we can't have truth and reconciliation until we have the proper disclosure and transparency of what's been kept secret from us for so long.
You've just testified to Congress on the government's secret UAP program that you just mentioned. Why would this have been kept secret from the world? What would have been the motivation in doing so? And also, in the age of deep fakes and AI and digital manipulation, how can we actually tell if these photographs are genuine?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting issue here. I mean, the Congress is really quite united in wanting to get more transparency about what is going on with these unidentified anomalous phenomena. Look, my view, and I think the view of most members of Congress and most Americans, is that whatever the phenomena is, we should get to the bottom of it, and the public has a right to know. If the government is engaged in disinformation, spreading false information, then we need to know that. If it is just a kind of unusual natural phenomenon, we need to know what that is. But if it's a new form of life, which is something that several people, including the former CIA director and others, have all hinted at, then we have a right to know that too. I can't, there's a lot of speculation about why the government keeps these secrets. Sometimes it's because it's embarrassing. It shows that the government's been hiding things that they shouldn't have hidden. In this particular case, there's certainly some speculation that they could be hiding things that the public would find shocking. To which I would say the government needs to treat us like grown-ups. We have a constitution. We're a democracy. Our constitution, like Australia's constitution, requires that the military and the intelligence community work for the people, not the other way around. So I think that this is an important moment, this issue, but so many others, where the people, we're restoring the right of the public to have access to the information that we paid for, rather than having it be withheld from us for either good or bad reasons, paternalistic or something perhaps more malicious.
Just finally, this information wasn't declassified under the first Trump administration. Do you have confidence that it will be under the second?
I don't have confidence. That's I'm a neutral politically, at least at the presidential level. I didn't vote for a president. I'm an independent. I don't have a political party. I testified precisely because I don't think we should just count on President-elect Trump to do the right thing. I mean, we know that there are powerful individuals in the government that do not want information to come out, whether that's on COVID origins or UAPs or the Russiagate hoax or the Hunter Biden laptop. People did wrong things, illegal things, and they certainly don't want to see that exposed. But I will say, I think we've got the best chance that we've had in 50 years. You have a president-elect, I should say, who really, ran against the establishment of his own party, was elected twice now. And this time in particular, he really ran on disclosure and transparency on a whole range of issues. And some of the appointments he's made are people that really have also suggested a need for greater transparency. So I would say we need to be cautiously optimistic, but we also, need to continue to put the pressure on the government, in part because, even if Trump wants to do it, I think he'll need that external pressure to show the public really does want this information to come out, and we're not afraid of what might be in there. We can certainly handle it. We all may need to grow up a little bit as a people, but I think that's certainly well within our capacity to do.
Michael, your reporting has been extraordinary across so many different issues. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Sharri. And back at you, I really appreciate your reporting on those issues as well.